Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So I want to talk about something that has now basically been confirmed, something I've been saying for the past couple of weeks, and it still feels like a lot of fans just aren't fully grasping how serious this situation actually is. And honestly, it's not even just fans anymore. Some teams are acting like this is a non-issue too. Like this whole developmental contract situation. People think it's not going to happen or that it won't impact anything. That is just flat out wrong. This is going to affect teams. This is going to affect roster construction. And most importantly, it's going to affect players, especially someone like Justine Pissott with the Indiana Fever. Now, let's slow this down and really walk through what's happening here, because the mechanics matter. When a player signs a developmental contract, there's a 14-day protection window. During that time, no other team can touch them. They're essentially locked in. But once that 14-day window expires, and for Justine Pissott, that's basically right now, give or take a day, everything changes. After that, she is fair game. And no, that doesn't mean she's automatically getting signed to a full contract immediately. That's not how this works. But what it does mean is that any team in the league can now step in and make a move. And here's the part that Annie Costabile highlighted that people really need to understand. If another team wants to sign a developmental player from your roster, they can do it. All they have to do is offer them a contract. Then your team, the original team, has 24 hours to respond and match it. Now, here's the catch. If you don't have the cap space to match that deal within those 24 hours, you lose the player. Straight up. No negotiation, no delay, no we'll figure it out later. You either make it work financially or that player is gone. You cannot say no. That's the key detail a lot of people are missing. This isn't optional, this isn't flexible, this is a hard constraint. If the money doesn't work, the player walks. And from a player perspective, this rule actually makes sense because, let's be real, developmental players are not being paid like standard roster players. Not even close. We're talking about roughly $750 a week just to be part of the team environment. They don't travel with the team, they're not guaranteed real rotation minutes. Yes, they can earn around $6,000 per game if they're called up, and over time that could add up to something like $70K if they max out appearances. But that's not guaranteed. So from their perspective, why would they sit in limbo if another team is willing to give them a real opportunity? Now bring this back to the Indiana Fever. From everything we've heard, Amber Cops and the Fever front office have no real intention of calling up developmental players right now. Their strategy seems pretty clear. They'd rather wait it out until they're down to around 10 active players and then use a hardship contract to bring in a veteran. So instead of investing in these developmental players and giving them those 12-game opportunities, they're basically saying, we'll wait it out. That's a gamble. Because if you're someone like Justine Pissott, what are you doing right now? You're not just practicing, you're auditioning. You're putting yourself on tape for the rest of the league. And trust me, other teams are watching. Take the Phoenix Mercury as a prime example. This is a team that right now doesn't even have a full stable roster. They've got maybe 8 players who are locks. One of them is dealing with injury issues. That means they have both roster spots and cap flexibility. That's dangerous for other teams because Phoenix can look at a player like Justine Pissott and say, why not? That's exactly the kind of player they've been targeting. And if they bring her in and it works, great. If it doesn't, they can cut her and move on. That's another part people forget. Signing a player doesn't mean you're locked in forever. Teams can cycle through players quickly. Seattle could do the same thing. Let's say they're dealing with injuries. Maybe someone like Katie Lou Samuelson is out for a stretch. They could sign Pissott, evaluate her in real game conditions, and then decide within days whether she's worth keeping. If not, they move on and try someone else. This creates a revolving door dynamic. And it exposes the reality of these developmental contracts. They're not strong protections. They're barely worth the paper they're printed on. They give you initial control, yes. They give you first refusal. But once that window closes, your grip on that player is incredibly weak, especially if you're a team without cap flexibility. And that's where Indiana is vulnerable. Because if they want to keep someone like Pissott, they may have to make a real sacrifice. We're talking about potentially cutting a veteran, someone like Shatori Walker-Kimbrough or Demiris Dantas, to free up space. And based on everything we're hearing, they don't want to do that. They might be forced into it, but it's not their preferred path. So now you've got a situation where a high upside player is sitting in your system, and other teams know you might not be able or willing to protect her. That's when things get aggressive. And it's not just Pissott. There are multiple players across the league in similar positions. Think about prospects like Anissa Morrow or others who might end up in developmental pools. If a team sees upside, they're going to take a shot, especially rebuilding or tanking teams, because for them, this is basically free talent acquisition. It's like getting an extra draft pick without actually spending one. And we're already seeing how this could ripple across the league. Take the New York Liberty situation. There's growing concern they could lose Marine Fatou, who is a starting-level point guard internationally. If another team makes a move and New York can't or won't match it, they could lose her. And then what happens? It becomes a domino effect. Maybe they cut another player to compensate. Maybe another team swoops in and grabs that player. Now suddenly multiple rosters are shifting, not because of trades or free agency, but because of these developmental loopholes. Even a team like the Connecticut Sun could get involved. If they need backcourt depth, why wouldn't they take a shot at a player like that? This is where the chaos starts to build. And honestly, it's kind of fascinating, because the league has essentially introduced a system that behaves a bit like controlled free agency, but only for a specific class of players. It adds unpredictability, it adds pressure, and it forces teams to make faster, sharper decisions. But it also exposes weaknesses. Teams that are tight on cap space are at risk, teams that aren't fully committed to their developmental players are at risk, and players who were once considered stash prospects are now active assets in a very fluid market. So when I say this situation matters, I mean it. This is not some minor rule tweak. This is something that could reshape how teams approach the bottom of their rosters. And in the short term, yeah, it's going to get messy. You're going to see players move unexpectedly. You're going to see fans confused about why someone got signed or cut so quickly. And you're going to see teams scrambling to stay within cap limits while trying to protect talent. But in the long term, this might actually be good for players because it gives them leverage, it gives them mobility, and it prevents them from being stuck in low-paying, low-opportunity situations with no way out. For now, though, buckle up, because if you think Justine Pissott is the only name involved here, you're not paying attention. She's just one of the first. There are more coming. Anyway, let me know what you think about all of this. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.